There is a hen in a cardboard box in my shed, and last night she was dying. She is standing up this morning, and she has eaten. The whole of what I did to her cost 1 egg. Now, it is not whatever she caught that was killing her. 9 times out of 10, there is nothing going round the flock at all. It is not the feed either. What finishes her is that she has gone cold and she has gone dry. And then somebody who is fond of her tries to help. Your hen is stood in that corner right now with her feathers up and her head pulled in, and you are already doing the arithmetic on what a vet costs for a bird you paid $25 for, if you can even find one that will see her. Most practices do not want a chicken through the door because there is no money in a chicken. My name is Angus Elliot. I'm a hill shepherd in the Scottish borders, and in 31 years I have never once called a vet out to a lame sheep. Not because I have anything against them, but because everything that decides it was in my kitchen the whole while. This morning, I am going to hand you the order it needs doing in. It costs about $5 of your dollars. Bide with me. Here is the first of it free. Warm her before you feed her, before you water her, before you dose her, before you look up a single symptom. A cold hen cannot digest, cannot absorb, and cannot fight. Feed put into a bird in that state is not a kindness, it is a weight in her crop that she has no heat left to move. Because that is what costs more hens than every disease on the internet put together. You find her puffed up in the corner at 7 in the morning, and you do the kind thing. You get feed into her. You get water down her throat. You go to the cupboard, and you dose her with something. Every one of those is the wrong first move, and doing them in that order is what turns a hen who had 2 days left in her into a hen who is dead by tea time. But before the methods, I want to teach you to read a hen. Because if you can read one properly, you will catch her 3 days before any of this becomes an emergency, and 3 days is very often the whole difference between a bird you save and a bird you bury. A well hen has bright eyes. Not open bright. She looks at you when you come into the yard, and she looks at the bucket, and she has an opinion about both. Her comb stands up, and it is a good deep red. Her feathers lie flat against her instead of standing off her. And she is busy, and she is bossing somebody about, because in every flock there is always somebody being bossed. That is your reference. Now here is how it comes apart, and it comes apart in the same order nearly every time. The first sign is not what folk expect. It is not the comb, and it is not the droppings. It is that she goes quiet on you. She stops her chatter. She stands a little off to the side of the others. The feed goes down, and she is not in the middle of it. And she will shut her eyes for a second while you are stood right in front of her, which a well hen will never do, because a well hen is far too nosy to close her eyes when there is something to look at. That is your day one warning. And if you catch her, there you have got time on your side, and none of this ever gets frightening. The second sign is the feathers going up. She is puffing herself out to trap air against her skin and hold her heat, because her body can no longer do it on the standard settings. A puffed hen is a cold hen. Write that on the inside of your eyelids. The third sign is her head pulling in and her tail going down. Tail down is the one that catches my eye across a yard. A hen carries her tail up like she is pleased with herself, and when it hangs like a wet rag, she is properly poorly, and you are working today, not tomorrow. Now, if you see wet round her eyes or her nostrils, bubbling at the corner of the beak, or a filthy mess down her back end, that is a different animal, and I will come to all 3 later. But 9 hens out of 10 that go down on you will show you that quiet stillness first, and it is free to look for. 30 seconds with the feed bucket every morning. That is the whole cost, and it will save you a bird a year and probably more. So she is quiet, she is puffed, her tail is down. Why? There are 3 reasons a hen goes down, and none of them are dramatic. Folk always reach for the dramatic one first, and they are nearly always wrong. The first is that she is cold, colder than she can climb back from on her own. I will say plainly that I think this is the biggest killer of hens in this country by a very long way, and almost nobody counts it, because it does not look like anything, it looks like a bird standing still. A hen runs at about 106 degrees FA run hit, a good deal hotter than you, and holding that costs her. A wet bird, a drafty coop, one night colder than she was ready for, and she is spending more than she is taking in. Once she stops eating, she has no income at all. From there, it is arithmetic. The second is that her gut has gone off. Something she ate, a change of feed, a new bird arriving, and the whole pecking order having to be argued out again. Whatever it was, she is not getting anything useful out of what she takes in, so she can be eating and still be starving. The third is that she is dry, and this happens far faster than folk believe. A frozen drinker in January, a fouled one in July, a bird bullied off the water for 2 days by somebody higher up the ladder. A hen who will not drink is in trouble in hours, not days. That is nearly the whole of it. 90 times in 100 your bird is one of those 3 or 2 at once, because cold and dry travel together. Everything I am about to show you deals with them in that order. Cold first, dry second, gut third. Get the order wrong, and the best method in the world does nothing for you. Right, method 1. Warmth. This is the one nearly everybody gets wrong, and I include folk who have kept hens for years. You want a cardboard box big enough for her to stand up and turn round, and no bigger, because a poorly bird does not want a hole to be ill in. Line it with clean straw or an old towel, put it somewhere quiet and dim, and then put your heat over one end of it. One end. Never the middle, never the whole thing. That is the bit that goes wrong. Folk who have got the message about warmth put the lamp over the middle, and she cannot get away from it, and she cooks quietly over the course of the day. A hen cannot sweat. She sheds heat by panting and by holding her wings out from her body, and if you see her doing either in that box, you have it too hot, and she is now spending energy on cooling instead of mending, which is the hole we were digging her out of. So warm end, cool end. She will choose, and she has better instruments than you have. Aim for something like 85 to 90 degrees FA run hit at the warm end, and let the far end sit at whatever the room is. If you have no lamp, a hot water bottle wrapped in a towel laid alongside her is genuinely as good, and refill it when it goes cool, because a cold bottle against a poorly bird is worse than no bottle at all. And hang a lamp off something that will not fall, well clear of the straw. There is a reason so many coop fires happen in February. 20 minutes of proper warmth does half your battle for you. I have carried in birds I had already privately given up on, and had them stood up and looking round the box before my tea went cold. It is not a miracle. She had a fever's worth of work to do, and no heat to do it with, and you gave her the heat. Method 2 runs alongside the first. Take her out of the flock. It sounds unkind. It is the opposite. In that box the pecking stops, and a poorly hen at the bottom of a pecking order gets a hard time of it, because a flock does not sentimentalize weakness, it removes it. She can rest. She can eat without arguing for it, and whatever she has, if she has anything, is not going through the rest of your birds while you are still working out what you are dealing with. My grandfather called that corner of the bee wire the hen hospital. A bee wire is a cow shed. My family has worked the same Hirsal above Eteric since the 1740s, a Hirsal being the stretch of hill one flock belongs to, and there has been a hen hospital in that bee wire for about as long as there have been Elliots on it. It was a wooden crate, clean straw, a shallow bowl she could not tip, and a folded cloth to keep her feet off the cold. Nothing in it cost anything, and that crate is still there. And here is the one detail he was particular about, which I have never seen written anywhere else. Put the box where she can hear the others and not see them. A hen who can see the flock going about its business without her frets. A hen who can hear them chattering down the yard settles, because as far as she is concerned she is still in the flock, she is just somewhere else in it. That sounds like sentiment. It is not. A bird that settles stops burning energy on being frightened, and every calorie she is not spending on fear is one she has for mending. She is warm, she is quiet. Now we deal with dry, and this is the piece that does the most work. Take 1 fresh egg and keep the yolk. Into the yolk mix about a teaspoon of warm water, a pinch of ordinary salt, and a pinch of sugar. Stir it to a loose custard. That is the whole thing. I know how it sounds, feeding a hen an egg, but look at what is in your hand. The last thing a chick does before it comes out of the shell is draw the remaining yolk into its body, and it lives on that for its first days on Earth with nothing else at all. That is not food in the general sense. It is the specific ration nature built to keep a chicken alive when a chicken cannot yet feed itself. Fat and protein in a form that needs almost no work to absorb, which matters enormously in a bird with no work left in her. And the salt and the sugar are not seasoning. That is the oldest piece of real medicine there is. Sugar and salt taken together cross the gut wall far better than either alone. The sugar effectively carries the salt through, and the water follows the salt. That is not folk belief. That is the reason oral rehydration exists at all, and it is the same principle that keeps people alive in a KOLRA tent. It works in a hen for the same reason it works in anything with a gut. The feed shop will sell you a sachet of that for about £10. It is glucose and salts with a picture of a chicken on it. It is not a swindle and it is not useless. It is perfectly good stuff. But it is doing nothing your egg and your cupboard cannot do, and the egg came out of the bird's own sister. Now the delivery, and this is where people kill hens with kindness, so listen properly. 1 drop, on the side of her beak near the corner, not down her throat. You do not tip her head back, you do not use a syringe into the mouth, you do not pour. A bird's windpipe opens at the base of the tongue, and liquid put into the back of a weak hen's mouth goes into her lung, and she will die of that in a day or two, and you will think she died of what she came in with. So, 1 drop at the corner of the beak, then wait. She will draw it in herself and swallow. Then another. 10 minutes of that, patient as you like, and a hen who could not hold her head up starts turning it and looking about the box like she has just remembered where she was. It is the closest thing to a conjuring trick in the whole of this, and it costs you an egg. When she starts leaning toward the spoon instead of tolerating it, set the saucer down and let her take it herself. That moment is the one you are waiting for. Some birds take 20 drops the first time. Some take 3 and want to lie down, and that is fine, let her lead. She knows more about her situation than you do. It is on the 11th page of my grandfather's hill book, in his hand, with the year beside it. He wrote down what worked and what killed. That is all the book is. Let us talk about the money, because it is the whole reason nobody ever told you this. An AYVN vet, if you can find one within an hour of you, is somewhere between $75 and $200 to walk through the door before anything is done, for a bird that cost you $25. And I want to be fair, a good AYVN vet is worth every penny, and there are 3 places later in this video where I will tell you to go and find one. But most general practices genuinely do not know much about poultry, and that is not laziness. There is no money in chickens, so nobody specializes, so the knowledge is not there to be bought at any price across most of the country. Now price the other side. The box was free. The towel was free. The lamp you likely already own. 1 egg. A pinch of salt and a pinch of sugar. A cup of Epsom salts is about £2 and lasts a year. Cider vinegar is pennies a dose. All in, about £4 a bird, 5 of your dollars, for something that works 9 times in 10 on the 3 things that are actually wrong with her. I am not saying anybody sat in a room and planned this. It is worse than that. It is that nobody who makes money selling you the cure has any reason to mention the thing that costs £1. There is no sachet with a picture on it for a cardboard box and a hot water bottle. There is no margin in an egg, so it does not get said, and after 2 generations of not being said it stops being known, and then it looks like a secret when it was never a secret. It was just never worth anybody's while to repeat. Tell me down in the comments where you are keeping your birds and what the winter does to them there. I have folk watching from Alberta and from Queensland and from about 9 miles down the road from me, and the cold ones and the hot ones have completely different problems. I read every one of them. Right. Method 4 is the water, and this carries her the rest of the way home once she is drinking on her own. In the bowl in her box, a tablespoon of raw cider vinegar to a litre of water. What that does is honest and small. It drops the pH, so the bowl grows a good deal less between changes, and slightly acidified water is a less comfortable place for the sorts of bacteria you would rather she was not drinking. It is not a cure, and it will not fix an infection. It is a bird drinking cleaner water at a moment when clean water matters. 2 crushed cloves of garlic in it if you want, and I do put it in, and I will be straight about what I think it is doing. I do not know that it does much. Garlic is not an antibiotic, and anybody telling you it is as moved from keeping hens to selling you something. What I have seen over 30 years is that birds drink garlic water readily, and a bird drinking is the entire objective. I put it in. I would not tell you it saved a bird. Change that water every morning without exception, fresh garlic each time, 3 to 5 days. And a spoonful of plain live yogurt on a saucer once a day for the first 2, which my grandmother did and I have never stopped doing. Hens are not built for milk, so a spoonful is a spoonful and not a dish. But a gut that has had a hard week takes the good bugs back gladly, and it is a bonny thing to watch a bird who was flat on her side yesterday standing over a saucer of yogurt, getting it everywhere. Method 5. The Epsom salt bath, which has one genuine use and a great deal of nonsense attached to it, and I will give you both. Fill a tub with lukewarm water. Elbow test, it should feel barely warm and nothing more, because your hand is a liar. Stir in about a cupful of Epsom salts. Lower her in holding her under the wings, head well clear of the water, and hold her there 5 to 10 minutes. Talk to her while you do it. Not for her soul, because a bird being spoken to steadily struggles less, and a bird that struggles less is not spending what she has not got. Then out into an old towel and pat her. Do not rub her. Rubbing breaks feathers and wrecks what little waterproofing she has left. Pat, wrap, and put her straight back in the warm end of the box, and let the heat finish the job. A wet hen chills faster than a dry one, and we have spent all morning getting her warm, so do not undo it in the last 5 minutes for the sake of hurrying. What the bath is for is this. It softens and cleans anything stuck round her vent, which matters more than it sounds, because a blocked vent kills. It relaxes her, and in one specific case, which I will come to shortly, it does something genuinely useful with the muscle she needs to use. Now, here is the bit where I correct myself, because I have said this next thing out loud in front of people, and I was wrong. You will hear, and I have said it, that the Epsom bath works because the magnesium goes in through her skin and eases her. That is not quite right, and I will tell you what actually happens. Magnesium does not cross skin in any amount that matters. Not hers, not yours. The evidence for it is thin to the point of not being there, and I repeated it for years because the man who taught me repeated it, and he was right about the bath and wrong about the reason. The bath still works. It works because of warm water and time. Warm water relaxes smooth muscle, and the vent and everything behind it is smooth muscle. 20 minutes of a bird sitting still in warm water with nothing being done to her is 20 minutes of her not straining, and a hen who stops straining will very often pass what she is straining against. That is the mechanism. It is duller than the magnesium story, and it is the true one. I tell you that for a reason beyond tidiness. There is a great deal of this in poultry keeping, a thing that works, with a made-up explanation bolted on afterwards, and the trouble with a made-up explanation is that it gets you doing daft things later. If you believe it is the magnesium, you will start putting Epsom salts in her drinking water, and Epsom salts in drinking water at any real strength gives a hen violent diarrhea, and a bird who was dry to begin with is now a great deal drier. That is how a good method turns into a dead bird. Learn the true reason for the things you do. Now the 3 particular troubles, because you will meet all 3 if you keep hens long enough, and they each want a different hand. The first is the crop, that pouch at the base of her neck where feed sits before it goes on down. First thing in the morning, before she has eaten, it should be empty and soft. Feel it first thing. That is your test, and it only works first thing. If it is still full and hard from the night before, that is an impiacated crop. Give her a few drops of olive oil the same way we did the yolk, corner of the beak, 1 drop, let her swallow. Then massage the crop gently downward for a minute at a time, 3 or 4 times through the day, and take her feed away and give her water and a little soft food only. Most clear in a day or 2. If it feels like a water balloon that swings when you touch it, that is sour crop, and her breath will be foul enough that you will know without being told. And here is where I part company with half the internet. You will be told to hold her upside down and drain it. Do not do that. I know it is on every forum, and some of the time it does work. But you are inverting a bird and inviting the contents of her crop into a windpipe that opens at the base of her tongue, and the hens that go wrong on it do not go a bit wrong. They drown quietly over a couple of days of new mohnaya. I'm not prepared to teach you a thing with that on the other side of it. Feed away, water only, massage downward, keep her warm, and if it is not shifting in 2 days, that is a vet job, and I mean it. The second is egg-bound, a hen with an egg stuck fast. She will stand hunched, her tail going up and down like she is pushing, and she will look thoroughly miserable. This one is genuinely urgent. It can kill her inside a day. Run the episum bath exactly as I described, but keep her in 15 to 20 minutes this time. Then dry her, wrap her, and put her somewhere warm and dark and quiet. Dark matters here. She will not settle to it with you watching. 9 times in 10, the warmth and the stillness are enough, and the egg comes on its own within a few hours. What you do not do is go in after it. Do not put a finger in her. Do not break the egg inside her, whoever told you to, because broken shell will cut her from the inside, and what follows is far worse than what you started with. If it has not passed by the next morning, she needs a vet, and this is the one occasion where I will tell you to spend the money without arguing about it. The third is respiratory. Wet round the eyes, wet nostrils, sneezing, a rattle or a gurgle when she breathes, sometimes a swollen face. Isolate this one fastest of the 3, because respiratory bugs go through a flock like fire through dry heather. Everything I have given you helps her hold on. None of it kills what she has got. Understand that clearly, because that is where folk lose whole flocks. They treat at home for a fortnight on garlic and hope while the thing spreads. Keep her ventilated but out of any draft, which sounds like a contradiction and is not. Stale, damp air makes it worse, and cold wind on her makes it worse. So you want moving air near her, and none of it on her. If she is no better in 3 days, or worse at any point, that is a vet. And one thing I will say once and plainly. If you lose several birds suddenly and together, that is not a nursing job, and it is not a garlic job. Stop, keep everybody separated, and ring whoever your country has for animal disease. Some of what goes through a flock is a reporting matter, and you do not want to be the person who kept it quiet. Now the objections, because I know what you will be asked on Monday when you tell somebody about this. They will say it is unscientific. Some of it is, and I have just spent 5 minutes telling you the magnesium story is wrong and the garlic is unproven, so I am not the one selling you magic. Warmth, fluid, rest, and isolation are not folklore. They are the entire content of nursing care in any species you like, and they are the 4 things that decide most of these birds. They will say you should just cull her, and sometimes that is right, and I will come to it. But a bird who is quiet and puffed at 7 in the morning is not a bird who is finished. She is a bird who is cold, and a great many perfectly good hens have been dispatched by people who mistook the first for the second. They will say it is only a chicken. That one I have no argument for, and I do not think it deserves one. An animal in your keeping is in your keeping. And someone will say they tried it, and the bird died anyway. That will happen to you. 9 out of 10 was never 10 out of 10. Which brings me to the old man. The shepherd who trained me was called Wat Scott, and he had been on the hill above Esk Dalemeyer since before the war. Esk Dalemeyer is one of the wettest inhabited places in Britain, that is on the record, and Wat had the face you would expect of a man who had stood in it for 50 years. He did not explain things twice. I was about 11, and I had a hen I was fond of, and she went down, and I did everything I had been shown, and I did it right. and she died in the box on the second morning. I found her, and I made a noise about it that I am not going to describe, and Watt came and stood in the doorway of that bewire with the rain coming off his shoulders, and he did not put a hand on me, and he did not tell me it was all right. What he said was, "You gave her a warm place and a quiet one, and you were with her. There was nothing else in it. Some of them come back, and some were away before ever you saw them, and you will not know which until it is done. Your job is that she is not cold, and not frightened, and not on her own. That is all your job ever was." And then he said the thing I have carried for 40 years. He said, "If you want a job where you win every time, do not work with living things." He was right, both halves of it, and the second half of what he taught me is harder, and nobody says it. There will be a bird who is clearly suffering and clearly not coming back, and the kind thing then is a quick end, not 3 more days of hoping. That is part of keeping animals. It is not meant to feel good, and it does not. I'm not going to teach you how over the internet, because it is a thing you learn from somebody stood beside you who can watch your hands, and done badly, it is exactly the cruelty you were trying to prevent. So find that person before you need them. Ask an experienced keeper near you to show you once on a quiet afternoon when nothing is wrong, so that when the day comes you are not learning it in a panic at 7 in the morning with a bird in your hands. Watt taught me that when I was 10. It is the hardest lesson I ever got, and the one I am gladdest to have. Now everything I have given you today is a repair, and a repair is a thing you would rather not need. So here is the prevention. 4 things, and it is short. Clean water every day, changed, in something she cannot stand in and foul. A splash of cider vinegar in the main drinker twice a week all year round will do more for a flock than anything you can buy in a box. A dust bath in a dry corner of the run, a shallow tub of dry earth with wood ash through it. That is how they clean themselves, and how they keep lice and mites down, and it costs you nothing but the leaving of it there. Dry bedding, changed before it ever smells. Damp bedding is where respiratory trouble breeds, and the RMOH coming off it burns the very lining of the airway that was supposed to keep the bugs out. Your nose is the instrument. If you can smell it, it has been wrong a week. And eyes on them, 30 seconds every morning with the feed bucket. Not counting them, looking at them. And put your box together before you need it. A cardboard box, a towel, a small bag of Epsom salts, a bottle of cider vinegar, a bulb of garlic, and a hot water bottle or a lamp. About £12, call it $15 once. It will sit in your shed for years being useless right up until the morning it is the most valuable thing you own. That is the entire point of it. There is a word we use up here for sheep. Hefted. A hefted flock is one that belongs to a particular stretch of hill and knows it, knows where the shelter is, where the ground goes soft, where you do not stand in a wind from the east. It is not in them at birth. The ewe teaches the lamb by walking it, and the lamb teaches its own, and it goes down the line without one word of it ever being written. Break that line once, and it is gone. You cannot buy it back. You start from nothing, and it takes 20 years. That is what happened to this. Everything I have told you this morning is what a woman with 12 hens in 1930 knew before she was 15, because she was shown it standing next to somebody who was doing it. Nobody wrote it down, because nobody thought it was worth writing down. Then 2 generations went by where nobody kept hens at all. The line broke, and now here you are at 7 in the morning with 14 tabs open, trying to buy back from a search engine what used to be handed over a fence. Your line broke. That is not your fault, but it can be picked back up, and it is picked back up exactly the way it was laid down, one person showing another. So when your neighbor's bird goes down, go over. Next time I am going to show you the sign that comes before every one I gave you today. How to tell that a hen has stopped laying because she is going down, and not because of the season or the molt. It is the earliest warning you will ever get on a bird, and most keepers never learn to read it at all. Until then, keep your feet dry, keep your head up, and remember, the folk who worked this land with their hands knew things we are only beginning to mind again.